You heard about the ancient astronaut theory and all that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that to me that's like the ultimate thing, and that's people that are in power now, or as they call it, as the elite.
Yeah. To fit it into a conspiracy theory, they're trying to cover it up.
No, they're like the descendants of the original beings that procreated with humans, so they're in charge of the planet.
The aliens amongst us, you mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe we are the aliens.
The elite, they see things from a much different angle than we see that.
He mentioned chess before.
Okay.
And I've heard a really good chess analogy. Break it down for you. So, what is chess designed to do for us lay people? It's supposed to teach you to think strategically, right?
Right.
But each side is equal. When has that ever been true? Everybody has the exact same pieces. What it's really supposed to do is teach you points of view. Like the pawn, for example, only sees forward. It sees its comrades side to side, it sees forward. That's one point of view. The king has a much different point of view. He sees the pieces around him that can trap him. So if you're the elite, if you're the top one, you see the conspiracies around you. You try to not get trapped by your own people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's what chess is designed to teach you, I think, is you're the king, and you're supposed to you beat your opponent by not getting trapped by your own people. So you move your pieces around so your king doesn't get trapped. You sacrifice as many pieces as you need to do to make sure you're not the king that gets trapped. And that's what people in power do. They don't necessarily try to defeat their opponent. They make sure the people around them are spread out in such a way that they don't trap them, that they're the ones surviving at the end. They can sacrifice. Everybody's expendable except for you because you're the king. And you're to outlast your opponent. You're trying to get them to trap themselves before you trap yourself. That's how you win.
What was that?
That's deep.
Yeah,
that's what chess is. After you play it for a while, you learn that.
I haven't played chess for years, and I never thought of that. That's a great point.
So that ties into this. The people in power want to stay in power, and who's the people that can bring them down is the people closest to them who are also in places of power. So you move them across the board so they get sacrificed if they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got. My nose is bleeding.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I like that analogy. There's another thing. You know how every king has this advisor that sits off right next to him? He's always lower, and then he's got queen, obviously. They have this like puppet. This.
That's why the queen in chess is more powerful than the king.
Exactly. That's what I was.
It's about the influence. Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's funny because it's like when they look down at us, we're considered pawns, peons, poor, peasants, pathetic, and they're.
It's kind of hard not to see things that way when you're in that position. I mean, we looking up can say that, but once you're put at the top, you immediately have a different outlook on life. You're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe there's something to this.
Getting back to my thing with the aliens, though.
I'm reading about that right now.
What are you reading?
Well, just background. Why don't you give a little background on the theory?
Well, just the thing is, Paul swears that.
I'm gonna do Carlos a favor here. I'm gonna help him out here.
All right.
Okay.
Now, Carlos believes that structures so geometrically perfect,
the pyramids,
and technologically advanced, could not be built, crafted, and put together by human hands alone. Just the sheer...
Back then.
Yeah, I don't believe that, but okay.
Well, we finished.
Okay, sorry.
I'm with you on this, but I gotta give him his due.
Okay.
He deserves a rigorous defense.
Okay, go for it.
So he believes that just because of the technology needed to put this in place, to create it, to think of it, could not have been done by human beings alone. They needed some type of higher intelligence to help them complete the process. In a nutshell, that's pretty much it, right?
Right.
My thing is, Carlos is looking at these pyramids like this is they were a one and done thing. Like
no. I took what you said, and you were right. There were a lot of failed.
Yeah, it took them a lot of years to get to that point. There's a lot of trial and error on these old pyramids that they have that they found crumbled ones because they didn't get the measurements and geometry right. So this was a process. This didn't happen overnight. They didn't just say, "Oh, look, I got it. Let's go build these pyramids."
Yeah.
People are very smart and they can figure out how to do things. And I always say they couldn't build the things that we built today back then either. They couldn't build skyscrapers like we have today back then. They didn't have the technology. They couldn't build buildings straight up like in a cone because they didn't understand physics the way we understand.
Okay, so
the pyramid is a very stable structure.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to fall over on its own unless you do something wrong like they used to do. Unless you have to build like. So I think just because we don't know exactly how they built it yet doesn't mean we're not going to find out someday.
Okay,
There's still things buried in the sand.
The fact that you're holding out hope for another answer,
because they keep discovering new things.
No, I get that, but you're holding out hope for another answer that's going to satisfy you.
Let's say, for example, that Carlos is right. Let's say that we had help from extraterrestrials. Okay, what does that mean? That means that they said, well, we need to guide them in a certain direction. We need to have an influence on their evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So that would mean everything from that point going forward is a predetermined design from another intelligence. Like, we want them to go in this direction. So that means there's a plan.
So what direction did building pyramids take us in? Like, what did that accomplish in the big scheme of things?
Well, as far as I can tell, now I don't believe this, but I'm playing devil's advocate here. Because I like to look at every angle of this thing. Maybe they want us to do something that they can't necessarily do themselves because they couldn't stay. Maybe they had to leave and say, "Well, we got them on the right path. We'll keep an eye on them. This is going to give them a jump. They're going to get curious. They're curious people. Maybe they're going to start inventing stuff because of this. They're going to look back and say, "Oh, we did this. Let's do this. This will inspire us to do something else." And to me, that's kind of a scary thought because that means if they're the ones that put it on this path, that means they did it for a reason. It wasn't because they wanted to make us better people, or because they wanted to. How do
you know that?
Because we're not a better people. We're killing each other.
Okay, well, that you can't blame them for that.
Well, if they had the foresight to do that, then they should have seen that we're going to use this to tear each other apart.
Let me put this example out there. You raise a child. You give them the tools they need to survive in life. They reach a certain age. You have to let them go.
Assuming the reason they did that is because they were benevolent. Maybe they're not benevolent. Maybe they wanted to guide us on a path because they wanted to put us on a predictable. So when the time comes, like, oh, we already know what the technology is all about. It's not an X factor.
It could be both.
Well, we don't know. That's why it's a theory.
Well, what do you think about this?
I'll tie in yours and a little bit of Napoleon Dynamite too.
I don't like that.
Well, okay, let's go to the Liger, which human beings created. They took the DNA.
The lion and the tiger.
The lion and the tiger.
He didn't
watch
the
No, okay.
So he doesn't know that.
Okay.
Now he does.
You know, it's like the dat. The dog and the cat they tried to make.
It's his favorite.
Yeah.
You watch the movie. It's
Okay.
So that man created the Liger. It's the biggest living cat on Earth as of today, and man created it. They took an egg from a lioness, a sperm from and they can't do it out in nature.
Right.
They had to do it in a test tube cell.
Right.
Okay, so they're studying the Liger. The double helix goes like this, and then it goes, and then it continues. And they're like, that's really interesting. You know what that reminds me of? Human beings. Our DNA, as a glitch in the matrix. Our DNA doesn't flow like a giraffe, a monkey, a lion. Everything in nature flows, and ours has we got junk DNA. We got all kinds of stuff in our DNA, and that's what I was thinking. Going to Ancient Aliens is. I researched the hell out of that too. The Anunnaki, Nibiru, all that stuff. We were like a Neanderthal, dumb caveman, boom, with the club. And they're like, you know what? We need certain minerals from Earth pulled out. Gold being one of them. We're smart. We don't want to work and do it. Let's give them 10% of our DNA. Just enough to mine things and maybe they'll build little societies. Who cares? See how far it goes. And so they got a little bit of their DNA, just a little bit, 10%, and they spliced it with a Neanderthal, and that became us. Who knows?